How are you doing? Today we're going to begin a new exciting series on radiological anatomy. Here we'll discuss the normal anatomy as seen on a radiograph. In today's video, we'll discuss the basic of X-rays as well as the radiological aspects of the upper limb. So let's get started. Firstly, what is radiological anatomy? It is simply the study of anatomy using radiological films. The second question that comes to mind is what are X-rays and how can they be produced? X-rays are radiations having a specific frequency and wavelength which are part of the electromagnetic spectrum. How can they be produced? They can be produced using an apparatus which has two simple parts. First is the X-ray tube, which produces the X-rays. The second is the X-ray film onto which these X-rays strike, creating an image. The X-ray film is made of plastic or polyester and is coated with silver halide. So how is an X-ray produced? The subject is placed between the X-ray tube on one side and the X-ray film on the other side while the X-rays pass through its body. So while these X-rays pass through the patient's body, the different tissues in the body block it to varying degrees. When the X-ray emerges from the body, it strikes the X-ray film, thus creating your X-ray, your radiograph. Now, different tissues have a different appearance on the X-ray, which is as follows. Air appears black, fat appears dark grey, soft tissues appear light grey, bones appear off-white, and metals appear bright white. Now, it's not really a difference of colors as much as it is a difference of opacity. Now, this is because the hard tissues absorb the X-rays, thus appearing brighter, more opaque on a radiograph, while soft tissues fail to absorb the X-rays and thus appear less opaque. Based on the position of the subject with respect to the X-ray tube and the X-ray film, there are various views, so to say, of the radiographs. The first is the AP view or antero-posterior view, in which the subject is placed with the X-ray tube facing its anterior aspect and the X-ray film on the posterior side. So the X-rays go from the anterior to the posterior side. In this view, it is the posterior aspect of the subject that is projected onto the film. Secondly, you have the PA view or the postero-anterior view. That is the exact opposite as the AP view. Here, the X-ray tube faces the posterior aspect of the subject, the X-ray film faces the anterior aspect of the subject, and the X-rays move from the posterior to the anterior side. So, of course, it is the anterior aspect which gets projected onto the X-ray. Third is the lateral view. As the name suggests, in this view, the rays move from the lateral aspect from one side to the other side of the subject. There's also various other special views that are particularly for specific regions of the body, which we'll cover in the subsequent videos of those particular regions. Before a patient is taken in for an X-ray, there are some preparations that must be made. They are: the part of the body that is being X-rayed must be undressed. Of course, if it is an X-ray of the chest or the lower abdomen, the patient may be asked to wear a gown. Second, all metal or jewelry items should be removed because their radio-opaque image on your radiograph could hide a significant finding. Third, the patient will be asked to stay still because any movements may create a haziness in the X-ray. Fourth, if it is a chest X-ray, the patient may be asked to hold their breath and place their hand on their waist. Fifth, before any X-ray is taken, for that particular view, the patient must be explained their position. Why do we need X-rays? X-rays help us find abnormalities in various regions of the body, depending on which part of the body is being investigated. The indications of an X-ray vary with respect to the region of the body, and those will be covered in the particular videos that will come. A general contraindication for X-rays is pregnancy because the radiations might harm the developing fetus. In our lectures, we will show you the normal X-rays of the various regions of the body and also brief you on some important clinical aspects and abnormalities for a complete understanding. Alright, so with this basic knowledge, let's begin with our first topic. That's radiology of the upper limb. At this juncture, let me tell you that we will be only dealing with plain radiographs in the upper limb section. Special radiographs and contrast enhanced X-rays are specific investigations for particular regions, and we'll cover them in the videos regarding those particular regions. Indications to take the X-ray of an upper limb can be summarized by a simple mnemonic, FIT-ROAD. That is to detect fractures, infections like osteomyelitis, tumors like osteosarcoma, rickets or other deficiencies, ossification where you observe the epiphysis, abnormalities, mostly congenital, and dislocations. There are 4 easy steps to read a normal X-ray of the upper limb. First, identify the view, then identify the bones. After that, identify the joints, and if present, identify any epiphysis. So the film before us is a plain X-ray of the shoulder region, as you can see. Let's try and read this following the 4 steps we just discussed above. The first step is to identify the view. Remember, if you get this view of the shoulder region, it is almost always an AP view. Now let's identify the bones. This that you can see is the clavicle, more specifically the lateral part of the clavicle. Here you have the upper part of the humerus. Then you have the scapula along with its acromion process, the coracoid process, and the glenoid cavity. We might also appreciate the first rib. The third step is to identify the joint seen. Here we can clearly see the shoulder joint, which is formed by the head of the humerus, and the glenoid cavity of the scapula. Structurally, it is a ball and socket type of synovial joint. Functionally, it is a freely movable diarthrosis type of joint. The other joint seen in this film is the acromioclavicular joint, which is a plain type of synovial joint. We can also determine at this point whether the shoulder joint is of the right or left side. Don't forget to identify this, it is very important. No epiphyses are seen in this film. So to summarize it, this is a plain X-ray of the shoulder region showing the AP view, which shows the clavicle, the head of the humerus, the scapula along with the acromion and coracoid process, the shoulder joint, and the acromioclavicular joint. A fractured clavicle appears like this on an X-ray. Now let's move on to the next X-ray. I urge you all to pause the video here and try explaining this X-ray yourself before I explain it to you. Right? Follow the same 4 steps that we did for the previous film. Okay, I hope you all gave it a shot. Let's do it together now. Firstly, we identify the view. This is an AP view of the elbow region, as we can all appreciate. The next step is by identifying the bones. Here you can see the lower end of the humerus showing the medial and lateral epicondyle, the upper end of the radius which shows the head, the upper end of ulna showing the coronoid process and the olecranon process. The third step is identifying the joints. Here you have the elbow joint, which is a hinged joint, and the superior radio-ulnar joint, which is a pivot joint. The fourth step is to observe any epiphysis, but here no epiphysis are seen. Whether it is a right-sided or a left-sided elbow can also be determined and should also be determined. Here is another view of the elbow. This is the lateral view. The bones seen are the lower end of the humerus, the upper end of the radius with the head, the upper end of ulna showing the coronoid process and the olecranon process. Let's move on to the last part of the X-rays in upper limb. So what is this film you see? Firstly, we identify the view. It is the AP view of the hand. Now before we start labeling any bones here, I want you to get oriented to the medial and lateral aspects of the film. As we can see here, This is clearly the thumb. So this makes it the lateral aspect. This is the little finger, making it the medial aspect. Now, this is really important when it comes to labeling the bones. We all know that the radius is placed laterally and the ulna is medial. Thus, this bone on the medial aspect is the ulna with its styloid process. This bone laterally is the radius with its styloid process. The carpal bones are arranged in 2 rows of 4 bones each. In the proximal row, the bones from the lateral to the medial or from the thumb to the little finger are scaphoid, lunate, triquetral and pisiform. Pisiform appears as a shadow. The mnemonic is "she looks too pretty." For the distal row, from the lateral to the median, the bones are trapezium, trapezoid, capitate and hamate. The mnemonic is "try to catch her." So put together, it is "she looks too pretty, try to catch her." Both rows are from the lateral to the medial. Next, we identify the 5 metacarpals. Their heads are placed distally and the bases are proximal. Right? For metacarpals, the heads are distal and the bases are proximal. You have 14 phalanges, 2 in the thumb and 3 in every other finger, in each other finger. Right? You can also appreciate sesamoid bones if any are present. So what is a sesamoid bone? A sesamoid bone is any bone which is embedded within the tendons. Alright? Now moving on, our third step is to identify joints. Right? So what are the joints we can see here? You have the wrist joint, which is an ellipsoid joint. Inferior radio-ulnar joint, which is a pivot joint. Intercarpal joint between the 8 carpal bones. This is a plain synovial joint. Then you have the carpo-metacarpal joint. As the name suggests, it is between the carpal and the base of the metacarpals. This is a plain synovial joint except the first carpo-metacarpal joint. That is between the thumb and the carpals. This is a saddle joint. Metacarpophalangeal joints, that is between the metacarpals and the phalanges. This is an ellipsoid joint. Then you have interphalangeal joints between the phalanges. These are hinge joints. Fourth step is to observe any epiphyses, but here no epiphyses are seen. This is a radiograph of the lateral view of the wrist joint with varying degrees of flexion of the fingers. Try and identify as many bones as you can and put them in the comment section below. So this brings us to an end of our first video in the series of radiological anatomy. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this clarifies a lot of doubts on this subject. If you do have any doubts, however, please feel free to pop them in the comment section below or email us on medschoolgrammar@gmail.com. The email ID is in the description box below. See you in the next video.